Morning. It's early. It's 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. And one of the things I've learned, Jack Russell's, one of the things I've learned yesterday I spent a bunch of time online. I have actually watched some YouTube videos and I read a bunch of websites, and I was like, I want to do an overseeding video, but I want to do it a little bit differently. I want to give you a section of this video that answers all of your questions, because that's one of the problems I found. Someone will put up a half-hour video and they don't answer all the questions. So I'm going to condense all the questions and answers for overseeding a Bermuda lawn with rye into a section, and I'll timestamp it down below. You'll see a little chapter line, and I'll put a break, so if you need to go just to get that information, you can get that information. But before I get to that information, I have a couple real important things to tell you. So hold on. Hey guys, like I said, man, I really wanted to do some real good research on overseeding Bermuda lawns, not just for myself, because I've done it before and I know how to do it, but for you guys, the different types of seeds, the temperatures, what's the difference between annual and perennial, what's the best, what about fertilizers, do I need to do a dethatch? All the information is going to be in that one section. But first, we are giving away $5,000. We're giving away $1,000 a month to a YouTube subscriber, so click the subscribe button. Make sure you click that subscribe button, and then in the description below, not only will I link to all the products I'm talking about, including the seed, but there is an email block, email subscribe. You subscribe to that list. We don't use it for marketing. We use it for our random number generators. And every time I post a video, it sends you an email. That's all it does. So it's not a marketing list. It's just an email sign-up list. So make sure you do that. Next, look at this. Isn't that great? I wanted to come out here early and show you. Now, there's a bunch of dew on the lawn. So we're almost at October 1st. And this Bermuda looks absolutely amazing out here. Absolutely stunning. Last night I came out and I cut the back, I cut the green, and I cut the front. My legs are sore. It was late last night. I said, man, I got to get it done, because I knew that there'd be a bunch of dew on the lawn this morning, and you don't want to battle dew on the lawn with a reel mower. So last night late, I came out here and cut it. So let me show you that, and I'm going to show you an update on the weed lawn across the street. It's pretty cool. Now, one of the things I'm doing this year is I'm not doing a full overseed project. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little fairway, a mini fairway, into the green, overseeded with ryegrass, because I can't have all that work of cutting this lawn all this time. And that's one of those decisions you got to make. First of all, take a look at the green. Isn't that cool? Now, I believe the last seeding I just did was with dwarf creeping bent. I believe that's what that is there. And I got a real good germination going on. You can see it's bright green. It's a different color than that dark blue Bermuda. What I plan to do is I plan to cut sort of a curving fairway into this green that goes all the way back to that fence, and that's probably, I don't know what, 50 yards or so. And I think that'll be a really cool little thing. When the rest of my lawn is brown, I'll have this green fairway strip in here, and that'll be really cool. So if you didn't know, in the last video I talked about, after 15 years of planning, the beach house that we wanted to buy after 20 years came on the market. So I heard my wife screaming, and anyways, long story short, it was a furious battle for this place. Multiple offers on it. We got it. We closed on it 2 days ago. We're going to do a renovation project, and I'm going to put it on video for you guys. Not only the actual house itself, but the landscape as well too. So I thought I was going to have a peaceful, restful fall, winter, but it turns out I'm going to be working my ass off. So make sure you click subscribe, because that's going to be a cool renovation. Let me take you out front real quick. Okay, so my front yard has had the PGF balanced, and that's what you guys should be looking at. Once your temperatures drop into the 70s, you should be putting down PGF balance, which is a 10-10-10 pro grade with micronutrients and iron. Now, in my last video, I talked about bumping up, so we've bumped this up to maybe oh, 3/4 of an inch. But it really does look nice. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Barb's lawn, of course, it has dew all over it, but it's looking really nice. Not a whole lot to do here. I do need to put Humichar and PGF balance on hers. Test patch looks really good. It needs some Humichar and PGF balanced, but look at the lawn project over here. I want to show you this. This is amazing. Look how much this Bermuda is growing in. Everything you see green here is Bermuda. There's not a weed alive. And then look at the front. Look how the front's coming along. Look at that. That's just all Bermuda right there. There's not a single weed over here. All right, so let's talk about the do's and don'ts, the real hardcore information about overseeding Bermuda grass. This is going to be the technical section. So if you're looking for some entertainment, skip this. Go watch Netflix. Overseeding. You only overseed Bermuda lawns. You do not overseed other warm season lawns. There's too much of a competitive factor. You run the risk of too many issues. So if you're going to do a winter overseed, you're only going to do it on Bermuda lawns. That's number one. Number two, when do you do it? You overseed Bermuda lawns when your temperatures, the daytime highs are in the 70s and the lows are in the 50s. So for me, sort of middle north Georgia, that's over the next probably 2 to 3 weeks is my time. So you need to look at your long-term forecast. I've told you how to go to AccuWeather, and you can see the 10-year average of what your temperature is for months and months ahead. So that's really the key factor there is highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s. That's the perfect time to be overseeding. Let's talk real quick about the weather. You do need to watch the weather, and I'll give you an example. Let me put up my weather forecast for the next 10 days. I will have my Bermuda grass that I've ordered. It's a specialty Bermuda grass, and I'll put a link to it in the description below. It'll take you over to a page, and I'll have it on there. I have the potential of some thunderstorms on Tuesday, so I think I'm not going to put it out until Wednesday. I really kind of want to avoid, if you see heavy storms coming in, I would probably avoid seeding, because the seed, you're probably going to be doing some cutting, and the dry clippings and the seed can actually be washed away and float away, so it's not a good time. I'm going to wait until I see where I have less of a chance of any heavy rains. Let's talk about pounds per square feet. Well, a lot of people out there are saying 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet. And I'm going to put a link to Clemson University that backs up exactly what I'm saying in this information. If you put down 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet, you may have extremely, especially if you use perennial, and I'll discuss that in a minute. If you use perennial ryegrass, you may have a real competition issue come the springtime with your Bermuda lawn. So you really want to go a little bit lighter. I'm going to say 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Remember, the grass that I'm going to be recommending germinates real quick. I mean, it germinates in like 3 or 4 days. So if you need to go back and apply more because you don't think it's enough, you can go back and you can apply more seed. But I would not go out starting at 10 pounds per 1,000. I would go out starting at 5 pounds per 1,000. If you have new lawns, you should not be overseeding on brand new lawns. You don't want to start any overseeding until the second year. There's just too much competition. You're going to be doing weird things to your lawn, like you're going to be fertilizing in the late fall and early winter. So you don't want to be doing this to brand new lawns. Skip a season. You can overseed on your second season. Let's talk about annual versus perennial. So many people say use perennial. And the reason why they say perennial, I think, is mainly because the old school thought process is that it looks better, it's a finer blade, and it's a darker color. Well, there's been a lot of advances. And if you really do some research on it, which I've done, you can actually go with a specialty annual seed. Now, I would not recommend going down to Lowe's or Home Depot and just buying annual ryegrass. The specialty grass is going to be a finer blade. It's going to be a little bit darker, and it's designed especially for that. But one of the reasons why annual will die off quicker than the perennial in the springtime, and that's one of the key factors why I use an annual. The perennial will be stronger in the springtime, and you might have some competition issues. So personally, I'm using annual. I know it will not battle my Bermuda grass in the spring. So my recommendation is specialty annual ryegrass. In the description below, I'll link to it. This specialty is designed, like I said, it has a finer blade. Typically annual has a wider blade. This has a finer blade and a little bit deeper color to it too. We'll see how it goes. Preparation. A lot of people are out there and they're doing, they're out there dethatching and they're doing a whole bunch of different things and they're aerating. You really don't have to do a lot if you're using your annual, because your annual seed germinates really quickly and easily. Remember, it doesn't have to be deep in the soil. It just has to make soil contact. Remember that. You don't have to bury your overseed seed into the ground. It just has to make contact with the ground layer. And then what you have to do is you have to water. So all I'm going to do out here is I'm going to cut my fairway down to the green, get it down real low, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to overseed it. I'm not going to do any dethatching. I don't want to damage my lawn. I don't want to disturb any of the stolons. I don't want to do any of that. I'm just going to overseed. That's all I'm doing. Preparation, again, I am just going to be using a reel mower, and I'm going to be cutting down low, and I'm going to be picking up most of the clippings, because the clippings can actually carry away, if you get a heavy rain, the clippings can actually carry away some of that seed in that process. You ever see those waves, those clipping waves after a heavy rain? Well, you'll get a lot of that seed sort of clump up with those clipping waves. So you probably should pick up your clippings if you're going to have to scalp down low. So what you have to do is you have to cut your Bermuda grass. Basically, you're doing a spring scalp. You have to cut it down to about, half an inch or 3/4 of an inch, and you can put your seed down and make sure it gets that ground contact is what you want. So fertilizer, what I'm going to be doing is, as soon as I cut my lawn, I'm going to be putting out PGF Balance. And the PGF Balance, the reason why I'm doing that is because it's a fast release. So I'm going to put down a 10-10-10 with iron and micros, and I'm going to start watering it, get it into the soil. Tuesday we have some rain coming in. It'll push it down into the soil more. And then I'm going to seed, and at that same time I'm going to put down Humichar, and I'm going to put down PGF Complete. Actually, let me change that. I'm going to put down Humichar and the PGF Balanced immediately once I cut it, then put down the seed, and then I'm going to put down PGF Complete. It's a slow release fertilizer. Now this is different than what you're used to, because we have to go back to a 16-4-8. So we're actually going back to a cool season lawn or growing season lawn. So we go back to a 16-4-8 slow release fertilizer. So that's one strip will be getting 16-4-8. It'll be getting more nitrogen, and I'll be doing that probably, every 3 to 5 weeks. I'll be putting out a light coat of PGF Complete on it. Now, one of the issues that you have is that I am putting nitrogen down on top of my rye, but what am I also putting? I'm also putting nitrogen down on top of my Bermuda. So could I stimulate some late growth and make it susceptible to some winter damage? Yeah, I could. And that's one of the things you need to think about. So that's why I'm going to put down, like I said, I'm going to put down 10-10-10. I'll put down the Humichar, get it watered in, then I'll put down my seed, and then I'll put out light coats of PGF Complete. It's one of the risks that you run is that, you can do a late push of your Bermuda grass with putting out a 16-4-8. But again, on the Clemson chart, it says a 16-4-8 fertilizer is what you want to put down, slow release fertilizer. So that's why we're putting down the PGF Complete. Now, an important warning. If you've already done your pre-emergent, you probably don't even bother go ahead and do an overseeding, because what does the pre-emergent do? Pre-emergent prevents seeds from growing, basically, is what it does. They may germinate, but then they'll die off. So if you've already got your pre-emergent down, you can't do an overseeding project. once your Bermuda has, once your annual rye has established, and after 2 or 3 cuttings, after a few weeks, or excuse me, once it gets established and builds up some roots, then we can go ahead and we can put out pre-emergent for winter weeds. We can do a pre-emergent, but we're going to wait till the winter months when it's really cold. So hopefully that defines what we're doing here. Again, a lot of people say worry about competition in the spring. If you use an annual ryegrass will not last as long in the spring and doesn't have the hardiness that a perennial does. A perennial ryegrass can't survive the heat. So what you're relying on is the fact that you're going to get some early hot temps that'll kill off that perennial, and I don't want that. I want my ryegrass to be dying off, or the ability to kill it off pretty easily. So that's why I'm using the annual. I'm not using a perennial rye. Again, the look of it might be a little bit different, but you'll be able to see it when I plant it. This is a specialty annual, and that's what you should look for. I would not go buy your big box ones, simply because it's a larger, coarse blade, and it's not going to be as dark green. Of course, we can hit it with some iron. We can also hit it with some iron, and that'll darken it up too. But again, I would start with 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. I'm going to order more, and that's one thing I recommend to you. Now, don't forget, this stuff's going to run out. So if you have any patches, or if you have any disease or any issues, you're not going to have any, you won't be able to get any more. So one of the reasons why we don't seed ryegrass earlier too is because we want the cooler temperatures to help with fungus and disease. You wait until the cooler temps and it's less susceptible to any diseases as well too. Alright, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to outline, probably use a hose to outline my fairway, and maybe do some cutting once my neighbors wake up. I don't want to disturb them this early. Alright, so let me explain what I'm doing. Let me explain what I'm doing here. So in my mind, I have to imagine that all my yard is brown, and I want some kind of cool looking design that's going to be a green fairway. So we're going to do a Jack Nicklaus dogleg left, whatever. So anyways, so I came to the outside of my green here, and I took my hose, I took a garden hose, and I have a garden hose outlined on one side of it. And then all I'm doing is I'm taking a rake, and with the rake I'm scraping the dew off, and what that'll do is that will allow me to visually see if that's what I want to do before I come out here and cut it. So it looks pretty cool, actually.
I wanna do it all with you by my side. If you're in, meet me here tonight. Be brave and come along, I'll be your ride. Promise we don't need no brake lights. We can travel the world, so just say yes. Choose to do whatever comes next. This or that, getting drunk on whiskey on a Tuesday night, or drinking red wine by an open fire, make love or fight. This or that. This or that, evenings on the train or catch a morning flight, enjoying dinner until midnight, or in bed by night. This or I wanna see it all, find the northern lights, see the stars in the open wild, catch a glimpse of Panama. We don't need a map, I'll let you know when we've arrived, yeah. We can travel the world, so just say yes. Choose to do whatever comes next. This or that, getting drunk on whiskey on a Tuesday night, or drinking red wine by an open fire, make love or fight. This or that. This or that, evenings on the train or catch a morning flight, enjoying dinner until midnight, or in bed by night. This or we can travel the world, so just say yes. Choose to do whatever comes next. So just be brave and come along. I wanna do it all. This or that, getting drunk on whiskey on a Tuesday night, or drinking red wine by an open fire, make love
I am ready for a nap. And let me give you the shortened version of this, what I did. Okay, I came out here with my 21-inch True Cut, which I don't use really much anymore. So if I have something abusive to do, I like to use it. So I ran that over that, and it was a crap load of clippings. Then I came out with my 25-inch McLean, my GK series, the Greenskeeper series, and I cut it once, and I dropped it down and cut it again. So I've cut this like 3 or 4 times total to get it down to the point where I know the seed will make contact with the soil. My grass is not like the average person's grass. It is so thick. From Humichar, PGF Complete, and Growth Regulator, it is just nappy thick. So I had to cut. Probably about 6 wheelbarrows full of clippings. That's just one of about 5 or 6. But I want to show you where I've taken it down to. I feel pretty comfortable right here. You can see it almost looks like a spring scalp. So I know the seeds can work down into the grass here. And that should do it. Tomorrow we will come out here and we will treat this with PGF Balanced and Humichar. Tuesday we're supposed to have a storm, so I'll let the storm come through, and then what I'll do is I'll come out and I'll seed it. We may take a push broom just to stir up that seed, and I'll spray it down in, and then I'll put a light coat of PGF Complete on top of that, and that should be pretty good. And we're going to do Humichar and PGF Balanced on all the other yards this week too. So anyways, that was a ton of work, especially last night. I cut grass for 2 hours, and I've been out here for 2 or 3 hours. But this should be pretty cool. When the rest of my lawn is brown and dormant, I should have a green little fairway here. Should be a pretty cool little feature. Anyways, guys, don't want to miss it. Click subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Doc.